changing colour every time a gat croaked. How is that for lo, ladies and gentlemen? Why, dog of the Crosligans, whole continents rang with his Cairo Coron lowness. Sheols of houris in shems upon divans, revolted Stella's vespertine dress among them, and a bare, mention of the scaly ribald exclaimed, Puas! But would anyone short of a madhouse believe it? Neither of those clean little cherubim, near or Nebuchadnezzar himself, ever nursed such a spoiled opinion of his monstrous marvellosity as did this mental and moral defective, here perhaps at the evanescence of his low nest, who was known to grunt rather than gunard upon one occasion, while drinking heavily of spirits to that interlocutor, a latere, and private privy secretary he used to pal around with in the cabbie house, one Davy Brown Nolan, his heaven-laid twin. This ham-boned dog poet pseudoed himself under the hang name he gave himself of Bethula. In the porchway of a gypsy's bar, Shem always blaspheming, so holy writ, Billy, he would try, hold belly, and pay this one-man jack congregant of his four soups every lass of next mouth volley, so sure as there's a tail on a comet, as a taste for Storix 42, that is to say, to listener, only 20 minutes more, bully, his ballade imaginaire, which was to be dubbed Wine, Woman and Water Clocks, or How a Guy Thinks and Talks When He Is Going Batty, by Maester Shames de la Plume, some most dreadful stuff in a murderous mirror hand, that he was aware of no other shag's pick, other shack his beard, either exactly unlike his poor and this is his, or precisely the same as as what he fancied, or yes, the same as he was himself, and that great scoot duckings and puggery, though he was fox to fox, like a bunny boy Roger, with all the tea-shop lionses of Lundrum, even hosed up against him, being a lapsus linguo, with a rubby-dub shorter temper, bad cad, dad fad, sad mad, nad, ban hatty bear, the consequentials of casuality, pre-pasted crosswords in post-position, scrufferum morimost, and all that sort of thing. If Ream stood to reason, and his languid line lasted, he would wipe alley English spoker, multophoniaxically speaking, off the face of the earth. After the thorough fright he got that bloody Swithin's day, though every doorpost in much-tried Lucalizid was smeared with generous earthborn gore, and every free-for-all cobbleway slippery with the bloods of heroes, crying to welkins for others, and Noahs and culverts agush with tears of joy, our low-waster never had the common bar lamb's pluck to stir out and about the compound, while everyone else of the torchlit throng, slashers and sliced alike, mob one massa, waded and batted around, yamp yam, chanting the Galuli chorus from the monster book of patriotic poetry, O pura e pia bella, in junket sampam, or in secular sincularum, heads up, on his bona fide avocation, the little folk creeping on all fours to their natural school tree, but childishly gleeful when a stray whizzer sang out intermediately. And happy belongers to the fairer sex on their usual quest for higher things, but vying with Lady Smythe to avenge MacJobber, went stone-stepping with their bicker staffs on educated feet, blinkety-plonk, across the seven-span Ponte dei Colori, set up over the slop after the war-to-end war by Messrs, a charitable government, for the only once, dia dos finados. He did take a Tom Pipistrella through a 3-draw 18 Hawks-power Durdicke telescope, luminous to larboard, only like the lamps in Nassau Strass, out of his westernmost keyhole, spitting at the impenetrable weather, and it was porco ghastly that autumn, with an each-way hope in his shivering soul as he prayed to the cloud incertitude of finding out for himself, on account of all the cools in Croker Parker, or owing to all the Codsyogs in Calatavala, whether true conciliation was forging ahead or falling back after the Celestius intemperance, and, for double's sake, why, with his see-me-see, and his my-see a-corves, and his froca-foster-foster, laying loves in being-seeing, he got the charm of his optical life when he found himself, hic sunt lenones, at point-blank range, blinking down the barrel of an irregular revolver of the bulldog with a purpose pattern, handled by an unknown quarreller who supposedly had been told off to shade and shoot Shy Shem, should the shit show his shiny schnout out a while to look facts in their face before being hosed and creased, up-rip and jack him by 6 or a dozen of the gay boys. What? Parasoundam, in the names of Deucalion and Pyrrha, and the incensed privy and the licensed pantry gods, and Stator and Victor and Cotton Run, and the whole Mesa Redonda of Lorenzo Tulas in Convocation, was this disinterestingly low human type, this calumnious column of cloacity, this Bengalese beacon of velocity, this animite vapor of atrocity, really at, it will be precise to clarify, for he seems in a bad case. The answer, to do all that it is in one dedo, would sound, from pulling himself on his most flavoured canal, the huge chest house of his elders, the Popa Preta and some Navico navvies, he had flickered up and flennered down into a drug and drunkery addict, growing megalomane of a loose past. This explains the litany of septuential letter trumpets, honorific, high-pitched, erudite, neoclassical, which he so loved as patricianly to manuscribe after his name. It would have diverted if ever seen the shuddersome spectacle of this semi-demented zany amid the inspissated grime of his glaucous den, making believe to read his uselessly unreadable blue book of echoes, Edition de Ténèbres, even yet sighs the most different Dr. Poindexter, authorized Bowdler and censor, it can't be repeated, turning over 3 sheets at the wind, telling himself delightedly, no espelor more so, that every splurge on the vellum he blundered over was an ailing vision more gorgeous than the one before, Tits, a rose shell cottage by the sea for nothing forever, a lady's try-on hosiery rattle at liberty, a sewer full of guinea gold wine, with branco mange padden pie, and 6-cylinder oysters worth a billion a bite, an entire opera house, there was to be stamping Romoli and the prompter's box, and evermore his quick way kept swelling, of enthusiastic noblewomen, flinging every coronet crimson stitch they had off at his proscenium, one after the others, inamagoted into a just loosing themselves in their gaiety pantomime. When he gads her, according to all accounts strict, he squeals the top squall in deal lil shemlock of yelling, gee whiz, do you hear that heart? So pure, loud gout of sabos. Juice like a void for fully 5 minutes, infinitely better than Baritone McGluckin, with a scrumptious cocked hat, and 3 green cheese and tangerine Trinity plumes on the right-handle side of his amarellus head, a coat McFarlane, the cursest, can't you understand, a Spaniard's digger at his ribs, Alfayate Punxit, an azel blue blow sheet for his blouse bosom blossom, and a Dean's crozier that he won from Cardinal Lindonderry, and Cardinal Carchin-Gary, and Cardinal Lario Tooley, and Cardinal Occidentaccia, aho, in the derby-derby double for falling first over the hurdles, madam, in the other hand, AATSOT, but what with the murky light, the botchy print, the tattered cover, the jig-jag page, the fumbling fingers, the fox-trotting trees, the lie-a-bed lights, the scum on his tongue, the drop in his eye, the lump in his throat, the drink in his pottle, the itch in his palm, the wail of his wind, the grief from his breath, the fog of his mind fag, the buzz in his brain tree, the tick of his conscience, the hype of his rage, the gush down his fundament, the fire in his gorge, the tickle of his tail, the bane in his bugs, the squints in his soul, the rot in his eater, the echo in his ear, the totters of his toes, the tetters on his tumty-tum, the rats in his garret, the bats in his belfry, the budgerigars and bumboozle and bowbirds, the hullabaloo and the dust in his ears, since it took him a month to steal a march, he was hard set to mummerize more than a word a week. Takes Paul in, hooks fisk, can you beat it? Whoa, I say, can you bait it? Was there ever heard of such low-down blackguardism? Positively, it worries one to think over it. Yet the bumper sprinter used to boast aloud alone to himself with a accent on it when mine father was a boor constructor, and I was a lexical student, parole, and corrected with the blackboard, trying to copy the stage Englisman. He brought their house down on shouting, "Bravour, Sir Charles, letter perfect, colossal low swaller speech." How he had been towed out of all the Shicker families of the Klondikers, from Pew Reich, Swab's Pays, the land of Nod, Shruggers country, Pension Danubier home and Barbaropolis, who had settled and stratified in the capital city after its hebdomadary metropoliacialization, as sun-blistered, moon-plastered, gory, wheedling, jovial, luturous and full, ordered off the gorgeous premises in most cases on account of his smell, which all cookmaids eminently objected to, as resembling the bombinable putso that welled out of the potso. Instead of tutoring those model households, plain wholesome potbooks, the thing he never possessed of his Nigerian own, what do you think Bulgariano did but study with stolen fruit how cutely to copy all their various styles of signature, so as one day to utter an ethical forged check on the public for his own private profit, until, as just related, the Dustbins United Scullery Maids and House Help Sorority, better known as Sluttery's Melted Puff, turned him down, and assisted nature by unitedly shooing the source of annoyance out of the place altogether, and totally on the heat of the moment, holding one another's gunk, for no one, hound or scrub lady, not even the Turk, ungreekable in percent of the Armenable, dared whip the polecat at close range, and making some point-to-pointing remarks as they done so, at the perfects of the sniffy, Your Honour, a boon the leo why a stunk, mister. Gimes wishes to hear from wearers of abandoned female costumes, gratefully received, white jumper, rather full pair of culottes and undergarmentaries, to start city life together. His Gimes is out of job, would sit and write. He has lately committed one of the then commandments, but she will now assist. Superior built, domestic, regular layer, also got the boot. He appreciates it. Copies, abortisement. One cannot even begin to post-figure out a statuesque ante as to how slow, in reality, the excommunicated dromchondriac, Nate Hamis, really was. Who can say how many pseudo-stylic shamiana, how few or how many of the most venerated public impostures, how very many piously forged palimpsests slipped in the first place by this morbid process from his pelagiarist pen? Be that as it may, but for that light fantastic of his nose's glow, as it slid lucifericiously within an inch of its page, he would touch at it from time to other, the red eye of his fear and sadishness to ensign the colours by the beerlets in his madness, and his educandees to outhew to themselves in the cries of Gurgi, Jember, Inkware, Shanchambre, Sincero, Zinzabar, Tincture, and Gin. Nibs never would have quilled a serif to sheepskin. By that rosy lampoon's effluvious burning, and with help of the simulchronic flush in his pan, a guinea a gherk he gets there. He scrabbled and scratched and scriobbled and screvened nameless shamelessness about everybody he ever met, even sharing a precipitation under the idlish terrier's umbrella of a showerproof wall, while all over up and down the four margins of this rancid shem stuff, the evil smeller, who was devoted to old Father Sardanapalus, used to stipple endlessly inartistic portraits of himself in the act of reciting old Machiavelli's monologue into your ear, anno o non anno agile problemas, ser autore, QED, a heartbreakingly handsome young Paolo with love lyrics for the goyles in his ales, a plaintiff's tenor voice, a ducal income of 132 drachmas per yard from Broken Hill's stranded estate, Cambridge Mannings cutting a great dash in a brand new 2-guinea dress suit, and a pearled Hawksford hired for a first day evening merry party, and a lovely long pair of inky Italian moustaches, blistering with boric Vaseline and frangipani. How unwhisperably so. The house, O'Shea or O'Shame, qui va pieno, known as the Haunted Ink Bottle, no number, Brimstone Walk, Asia in Ireland, as it was infested with rats, with his pen name, Shut, sepia scraped on the doorplate, and a blind of black sailcloth over its one windshow, in which the sole contracted son of the secret cell groped through life at the expense of the taxpayers, dejected into day and night with Jesuit bark and bitter bite, calico hydrants of Zolfor, and scopolamina, by full and 40 quisisanos, every day in everyone's way, more exceeding in violent abuse of self and others, was the worst it is hoped, even in our western playboyish world, for pure mouse farm filth. You brag of your brass castle, or your tiled house in Ballyfarmont. Nigs, nigs, and nigs again. For this was a stinksome ink instinct, quite optional to the ruffle. Smatter of fact, angles afternoon browsing there, thought not Adam reeked more rare. My word, the warped flooring of the lair, and sound-conducting walls thereof, to say nothing of the uprights and imposts, were Persianly literatured with burst love letters, telltale stories, sticky-back snaps, doubtful eggshells, vouchers, flints, borers, puffers, amygdaloid almonds, rindless raisins, alphabetiform verbiage, biblical biases, ambita dictas, visus umbique, ahems and ahas, imitable tries at speech unasyllabled. You owe me's, I old hymns, flew foul smut, fallen lucifers, vestas which had served, showered ornaments, borrowed brogues, reversible jackets, black eye lenses, family jars, false hair shirts, godforsaken scapulars, never worn breeches, cutthroat ties, counterfeit francs, best intentions, curried notes, upset Latin tin tacks, unused mill and stumbling stones, twisted quills, painful digests, magnifying wine glasses, solid objects cast at goblins, once currant puns, quashed potatoes, messes of knottage, unquestionable issue papers, seedy ejaculations, limerick dams, crocodile tears, spilled ink, blasphematory spits, stale chestnuts, schoolgirls, young ladies, milkmaids, washerwomen, shopkeepers' wives, merry widows, ex-nuns, vice abbesses, pro-virgins, super whores, silent sisters, Charlie's aunts, grandmothers, mothers-in-law, foster mothers, godmothers, garters, clippings from right lift and syndrome, worms of snot, toothsome pickings, cans of Swiss condensed milk, highbrow lotions, kisses from the antipodes, presents from pickpockets, borrowed plumes, relaxable hand grips, princess promises, lees of wine, deoxidized carbons, convertible collars, diviuca doffers, broken wafers, unloosed shoe latchets, crooked straight waistcoats, fresh horrors from Hades, globules of mercury, undeleted teeth, glass eyes for an eye, gloss teeth for a tooth, war moans, special size, long sufferings of long standing, ahs, ohs, wheeze, sees, yas, yos, jazz, nays, taws, so's, yeses and yeses and yeses, to which, if one has the stomach to add, the breakages, upheavals, distortions, inversions of all this chambermaid music, one stands, given a grain of goodwill, a fair chance of actually seeing the whirling dervish, tumult, son of thunder, self-exiled in upon his ego, a night long a shaking betwixt tween white or redder horrors, noonday terrorized to skin and bone by an ineluctable phantom, may the shaper have mercy on him, writing the mystery of himself in furniture. Of course, Our low hero was a self-valeter by choice of need, so off he got up whatever is meant by a Stourbridge clay kitchenette and lit our Gogalenu fowl house for the sake of aches. The umple does not fall very far from the lumber tree, which the melodious jigsmith, in defiance of the Uncontrollable Birth Preservativation Game and Poultry Act, playing lallery rook cookery nook by the dodginess of his lantern, brewed and cocked and potched in an athanor, whites and yolks and yilks and quotes, to the frothin fredolence of Mas Blanca que la Blanca Hermana and Amarilla Muy Bien, with cinnamon and locusts and wild beeswax and licorice and carrageen moss and blaster of berries and